All right, welcome everyone with Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Kaguya-sama, Love is War, Season 3, Episode 11. I think we may be getting, well, not necessarily a confession this episode. Well, maybe, because there was a confession that happened last episode, but Ishigami didn't know it happened. But it was kind of the perfect confession, accidentally. But then,
Right. The
The
ways in which you can have a confession but not actually have any resulting positive effects from it are being shown dramatically right in our face.
Yep.
Almost sarcastically so.
Exactly, because it is sarcastically, because, damn it, our main two are going to have a confession happen. It will not be, like, interrupted and then sidetracked and forgotten. It will be understood for what it is. I believe there is not a shred of doubt within me, even though the story is specifically saying that there is danger that it might not happen.
If everything gets laid at Ishigami's feet, the main thing that I could see is a replay of Season 2. A way in which Ishigami grows.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, it's...
Yeah.
Hey, if Ishigami does end up with Tsubume, I am all for that. Like, hey, awesome.
I don't think it's...
I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it's going to go very well. And that's, like, even though it doesn't end up working out,
Yeah, I really want to believe. My main thing is that even if things go really well, it's going to be very, very awkward for him to kind of have to come clean that he didn't necessarily intend it that way.
Right.
And thus, she might overcorrect and thus scare him off. So if anything, I would love to see the flip of the reversal be that she's really all ready for, like, all excited for it. And he's, like, scared by the way in which she's so positive because she's spouting about, like...
He's the one who
like, this going to
who
lead
makes it
towards
not happen
marriage
rather
and
than
stuff.
her.
Yeah, and then they have to either reconvene in the next episode,
Yeah.
kind of with a mutual understanding being the main
Sure.
goal, or that's just it. It just flounders. Right there.
Man, I am so excited for what's going to happen this episode because I have all these ideas of what it must be, and yet this is episode 11. Like,
Yeah,
like,
we get another episode after this.
Yeah. So,
we breathe. We okay.
Yeah.
We've got this. So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone. Now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below. Then come back here for the discussion. Well,
I told you, man. It's written in the stars.
I mean, if we're gonna get something where it's this positive, this wonderful here, and they're ending on this episode, like ending at this point here, I very much think we could end up going for a full round robin positive win for everybody.
Right.
But they did choose to have it end here before Kaguya responds in any way.
Because the thing is that even though it's going to be the Christmas miracle kind of festival, right?
Yeah.
It's still going to be something where amidst all of the happiness, there will be that bittersweet element to it. There will be conflict. The story will go on, right? It's not over.
Well, yes, she will make her response in the dreary, lonely, quiet student council room, not in the beautiful, lush, colorful, vibrant, just free, festival area and stuff like that.
He's laying out all the details to her first of like, hey, this is something that is happening.
Right.
And that's
thus, because of that, I'm going to confess.
I'm going to confess to you, but that, like, I'm not going to do some bait and switch where I confess to you and then mention that, oh, by the way, I'm mentioning that first so you know what the situation is.
And I will say, Kaguya foreshadowed her own potential decision by saying there's a third option. You don't just reject or accept them. You can say, I need to hold on to my answer a little bit, but that's not accepting it. So that would qualify for my bet to be a win there because they would not actually accept it, right?
Sure. And I suppose the way that I could see that happening as far as like the show continuing and it being something like where the show ends with the confession is that she says, I will tell you when you get back.
Yeah.
But I don't think that would happen because he's going to study for university, so that would be something that would take like years,
No, well, I think that's the wrong way to look at it. If we think about it, him going to the U.S. for his university studies and all that, he doesn't have to literally stay there 12 months a year, 52 weeks a year for 4 years or for 6 years or 10 years or what have you.
Right.
He could come back and visit every 3 months, theoretically.
But there's also the thing where, in that same way, just because it's the end of like the school year or coming up on the end of the school year doesn't mean it's the end of their time together, because there could be time before the next school year starts and he has to go to the US and things like that.
Right.
So, you know, it's not like I'm leaving tomorrow necessarily, you know. So I still think that that the confession is 100% happening, and Kaguya will say yes, even if there's some complications because it's you know, hey, this is happening.
Yeah, I think that's way more likely now that he's basically gotten all the way to this point and all the other things worked so positively.
Yep.
I don't think we would have a finale for a show like this that would be completely dreary. But I will say that both Tsubame's and Kaguya's kind of responses are being saved till the next episode.
And I will say, there is still the possibility.
Such a dick move.
There is still the possibility that Ishigami's situation could be ruined.
Yep.
Because if he is the heart thief person and he does some super public confession and everything, that could change her mind, which would suck. I would hope that the show wouldn't do that. That would be a bit cruel, I think, especially when we have her tell Kaguya basically that, like, no, I'm gonna say yes, you know?
Yeah. I will say,
but that is a possibility.
I will say also, this reminds me of specifically in Persona 4, Naoto deals with a phantom thief as well.
Oh.
Throughout their whole social link, and the idea of this being something where it's a
complicated confession to Chica.
No, a video game reference.
Oh, sure.
Means that it's more likely an Ishigami thing than something tied to Miyuki's grand potential confession. Now, the problem with that is that
it was specifically a reference also to one of the main characters in Sailor Moon.
Okay, but the other thing is that Miyuki still hasn't done his big confession yet. There are some things that he was literally setting up on the roof of the building. That sounds like the kind of thing that Miyuki would do.
Oh, I thought that was just him helping to prepare for the festival.
I know, but that could also be
gotcha
part of his eventual confession, where he's like, now I need you to think about this, but first let's go outside, out to the roof here.
Right, like he's had this whole thing planned out, so he's like, hey, you know, I'll tell you the practical stuff in the student council room.
The part where they had the cell phone part in the previous season. But like that's the kind of thing where they have a special kind of attachment to that spot. So the idea that he was doing some prep work shenanigans there, theoretically, for his confession to Kaguya, I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think also the idea that they don't have a static conversation in a single room makes it more likely that things go positively, or at the very least that even if things aren't put like into an immediate positive, let's get in a relationship right now, they can have that longer kind of logistical situation of, hey, well, we like each other, but like, how do we make this work then?
Right.
If we're going to go into an LDR. So like,
and that's something that I'm excited to see them talk about, because that's something I've never really seen be tackled in anime, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, we've seen some things that are more on the mature side of things with like movies and stuff.
Right. Like, you know, like struggles and things like that in relationships, totally.
But like LDRs, right? Like have we seen some that are movies, like specifically where it's like the characters go away on like trips and stuff, work and things like that, and it's like, oh, you're on a business trip or you're in the army for a long period of time or something. I guess I'm like,
examples aren't really coming to mind.
Yeah, but not really for me either. I'd have to think about it, because we've watched a lot of anime movies in the last like 5 years. So,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I'd have to think about it.
I think Whisper of the Heart did something kind of like that.
Okay, yeah, that might have been it.
That's probably the best example I can think of.
It does sound like a Ghibli film kind of thing that I'm just
right. And I love Whisper of the Heart. It's my personal favorite.
Oh, it's
Ghibli
such
movie.
a good Ghibli movie. Yeah.
Underrated. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's wonderful.
Always missing
Super
in the
wholesome.
discussion when people think about top 3 Ghibli films. It's like,
that's where Lo-Fi Girl came from, actually.
Yes.
But so back to this show, I think it's something where they'll be able to talk it out and go over the details and figure out exactly what they're going to do, and that can also be where we see the future of the show, right?
Sure.
Because this is a big development. We've always had the
Day of Destiny for Kaguya as a show. Yeah,
right, exactly. We have always had the constant of the student council room itself, and that might not necessarily be as much of a thing anymore.
They toyed with that
if
being
Miyuki's not there.
Yeah,
you
they
know?
toyed with that not being a thing in season 2. The transition from season 1 to season 2 was
that's right, yeah.
pretty strong, and there was a lot of stuff that happened outside the student council room.
Yes,
and that was a really big evolution, I would say, for the show as a whole, because one of the things that almost feels like we've kind of moved past it in general is the premise of like the first like 4 to 6 episodes of even season 1, where it was very much a,
skip based, what's the situation?
Yeah, we don't have any progress, and then this one's more they're constantly just finding ways in which they can kind of tell each other, but it's just the fact that they have to make it super overt because the other person responding saying, well, that was a form of you saying that you like me, is them admitting that they want that to be the case and all that stuff. So it's I absolutely adore how this show has progressed in its like format, basically, because the where it started was a great place to start. Like very
it sold
marketable,
us very marketable, very straightforward and simple. It sold us on the premise, all of that good stuff, and yet it then transcended that and became more than that.
Yeah,
right?
The characters evolved, and now we really, 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 really care about all of them. And now we're in the can all of them have happiness? And it's like, well, maybe not. Also, there's a couple other things that are still kind of looming in the background. Ino working on the bonfire, and that's something that I feel like could be like where either the bonfire of dreams happens or the thing goes up in flames, equivalent, where everything gets tossed in and immolated and consumed, and it's we'll try again next year,
I think we could have both kind of at the same time.
Okay.
Because if we have so bonfire, right?
Yeah.
If people have already confessed and accepted the feelings of the other people, then that could be an absolutely sweet, wonderful, beautiful moment. If there is also the thing looming in the distance of you're leaving, right?
Yeah.
That could be the perfect like background and and motif and all of that stuff for the fact that yes, something is going up in flames, right? And so let us dance our final dance, our first and last, right? As we get ready to bid each other goodbye, right?
It's true.
I can see it. I can see it.
I can see it too.
But I'm very surprised that Tsubame seems to be about to actually
do a flip
reciprocate.
On things. Yeah,
because the everything that I was expecting from the show up until recently was that it's the thing of the Ino and Ishigami are the the true Bakas
They're
now.
The end game for that. For their characters.
Right, and I still think there's a very high likelihood of that being the case.
Oh, absolutely.
Even if it goes well tonight.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
Because the I don't know that I really like you. I don't understand my own feelings. I'm doing all of these things to help you out. Cool. I'm really glad, actually, that didn't end up being something that...
There's a Toradora energy that we can't deny when we think of Ishigami and Ino.
And Toradora...
holds
a very special place in my heart.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that it wasn't something where then Tsubame saw him head chopping Ino and her head chopping him a bunch of times, and then it's like, oh, I guess they actually like each other, so I'm not gonna do anything.
And I love that that's not even close of it because they don't like each other really in that way right now. They might have some unresolved feelings, but it's not It's not attraction. It's the idea that they are so familiar that that's just a side of Ishigami that she's never seen before. So she's like, wait a minute, I might have misjudged him. I might have just seen only a specific side of him. And wait, if I say yes, and it's not about saying yes and that I have to fall for him, it's there might be a side of him that I haven't met yet. And I might only get to know that if I spend a lot of time with him. And a great way for me to spend a lot of time with him would be to say yes. Because while this was a pretty dramatic confession, I don't know exactly, like she's not certain about everything. And that little level of uncertainty is great because she might open the whole conversation up and then he can admit, hey, I actually wasn't necessarily going at it that way. And then she'd be like, well, do you think it'd be okay if then we date, but it's the like we're trying to also get to know each other? And he'd be like, absolutely.
Right, exactly. I would, in a similar but different way, or in a way that rhymes but is not the same. There is a conflict in addition to the confession for Kaguya and Miyuki, right?
Yes.
That could be a fun conflict for Ishigami and Tsubume.
Sure.
Because she's like, I accept, and he's like, accepted what? Right? And then she's like, oh God, and then she tells him and he's like, I mean, I do like you. And then he could be like, yeah, this is what I had planned. And she's like, oh, thank God. I thank God that didn't happen. Right.
That's possible. Yeah, but we know this is a Kaguya finale, and every finale has been a bombastic explosion of stuff. So
literally an explosion.
Yeah.
That has happened in every finale so far.
So what way is the Academy going to blow up with the events of the next episode?
I feel like it has to be tied to the whole Phantom Thief thing, but I don't know who the Phantom Thief would be if it wasn't Ishigami.
Miyuki, because he's been basically setting up a bunch of shenanigans here.
Okay.
And it's him manipulating all the people that could be problems in the Kaguya eventual confession so that he keeps Chika focused on a thing that leaves her spinning in circles.
Yeah. He made a hamster wheel, and he's like, yes, go run.
Go run on it, you dumb little, little chaos gremlin.
Right.
Then you have...
I really like that as an
with the idea of like her having like specific things that she would need in order to avoid...
The bonfire could literally go badly, and then that could be the source of the explosion.
Sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Also, I love the idea of things going badly in an explosion that has nothing to do with the confession that leads to a reputational disaster for Miyuki so that he can't actually go to Stanford.
I want him to go to Stanford.
I want him to go to Stanford too. It'd be a really fun way for the show to tackle something that, like we said, we don't see much in anime.
Yep.
But the also kind of things that these romantic comedies tend to do is they threaten the balance to be completely destroyed, and then they restore everything at the very last second to perfect balance and equilibrium,
right,
where so effectively nothing has happened.
Right, so but they make it a cathartic thing so that we're happy that... Okay. That's the sauce that they use to glaze over the potential frustration over the fact that we were baited with the progression. Not in this show, and shows in general. It can be kind of annoying.
Yeah, right.
But
we'll see.
We'll see. I want to say though, with regards to, and I know I've talked about this a bit, but with regards to the whole Tsubume thing, since this is very different from what we would meta expect, I loved the character explanations for why she would be so conflicted about it, because there are things that she wants to do because she's been established to be a go-getter, and she's like, but I'm a go-getter. If I am in a relationship, then I go whole hog on the relationship, and then like these other things will suffer as a result of that. And so she doesn't even necessarily want it to be about her feelings, even though she hadn't thought about Ishigami in that way. And so that's a wonderful way for there to be conflict within the character without it being the conflict that we would necessarily expect. She doesn't actually like Ishigami, but she thought that the confession was really sweet. That whole thing. But yeah.
All right. Y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all of this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about the show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.